Hi, I'm Greg Campbell from Fortis Pilates. Today I want to show you how to fold and unfold our Maple Elite home folding reformer. So I've got one of these reformers right here. The first thing you'll notice is I already have the shoulder rests and the shoulder rest rear posts attached. You can leave those on. I usually just leave them on when I fold and unfold my reformer. Unless you're really concerned about the width of the reformer, you can take these out pretty easily and you'll save a little bit of width if you want to pack it against a wall more compactly. For me, I usually leave them on. And then I would roll this reformer. It's got wheels on the bottom, very easy to move. Roll it to wherever I want it to basically be centered when I unfold it. Because when I unfold it, what's going to happen is it's going to open up in both directions. So I want to get it roughly centered. So let's say this was the center of where I wanted it. And then in terms of unfolding it, what you'll see is there's a crossbar at the back. And I'm going to use that with one of my hands. That's what I'm going to use to pull the reformer apart. Okay, so what I do, and I'll give you a view of this from this side, I brace one of the wheels with a foot to keep it from moving. So this side I don't want to move. The side with the crossbar I grab, and then I can pull it open. Okay, so that's all I'm doing to get it to open. If I don't have my foot braced, what tends to happen when I pull the crossbar is the reformer just moves around. So let me show you that. I'll come around to the back and open it up. So I'm bracing that wheel with the foot, I'm grabbing the crossbar with the other hand, and I let the reformer drop down to the ground. Okay, so I've got this unfolded now. The carriage is locked into place by the foot bar. So the next thing that I want to do is just open up that foot bar. So I pull it out and I rotate it, lock it down into the position that I want it to be in. So now my carriage is free to move. So now I'll give you a close-up view of this. I want to get the springs and the carriage stoppers arranged. Okay, so the first thing with the springs is there's this plastic, actually it's a metal retaining clip that goes on the bottom that all these springs are clipped into. I don't want to leave the springs clipped into this because they can't really extend when they're locked in like this. So the very first thing I do is I just pop all the springs up and they just sit on top. So now all the springs, I can move them and attach them as I want to. Got all my springs free. Next thing I'm going to do is stick my carriage stoppers in, right? So just insert those into the hole on each side. And then what I can do is I can move my carriage stopper to the docking position and hook on whatever springs I want to hook on for the exercise. So the next thing we're going to do is attach the rear posts to the machine. And you'll see that each of the rear posts has 3 holes. And in the rear of the frame, there's a single hole. So what that lets us do is adjust the rear post to one of 3 heights, depending on your preference. So me, I'm a taller guy. I usually like it at the tallest one. So that'd be the bottom hole. So what I do is I take my retention pin for the rear post. I insert the post into the hole. I make sure the pulley is facing the front of the reformer, okay? And then often what's the easiest thing to do is to just take a look through the hole and you'll see when it lines up, and then you can just insert the retaining pin. Okay, so there we go. And we do the same thing on the other side. I make sure my pulley facing forward. I insert the post, line it up, insert the pin. Okay, so I've got my 2 rear posts inserted now, and we'll move on to the ropes. So for each of the ropes, you'll have the straps attached at one end, and then the other end will just be basically the end of the rope. Okay, so the way I usually like to do this is I'll take the big loop, I'll put that over the shoulder rest. Okay, so I've got it hooked on. Then I go to the other end of the rope. I just insert it through the pulley, and it doesn't matter which way because these pulleys are able to rotate. I pull it through on the carriage, and you'll see this a little bit better on the other side. There's these 2 gates here and the locking mechanism. So I want to go through the first gate with the rope, through the locking mechanism, and through the other gate. What these 2 gates will do is make sure the rope stays down in the locking mechanism and can't pull out, which would have the rope release, which we don't want when you're using your reformer. So I'll go ahead and do that on this side. So through the gate, and then when I pull it tight, it engages the locking mechanism. And what I'll usually do is just pull that so it's roughly snug. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. You'll get a little bit better view of it. Okay, so I'll put it on the shoulder rest. The other end of the rope goes through the pulley, through the gate, and then when I pull it tight, it engages the locking mechanism. Okay, so these ropes are now engaged. I can obviously move the carriage with them, which is what I want, and then I'll usually hang them off of those posts. So that's all you got to do for the ropes and the straps. That's your reformer completely set up. Okay, so pretty straightforward to unfold it, do the few things you need to do to get the reformer ready for use. And then we move into the unfolding. Okay, so now let's say we want to fold our reformer back up. We're done using it, we want to put it away and get it put aside. Everything's just in reverse. Okay, so the very first thing, we take the ropes off, right? So I take the ropes out, I pull up on the rope to disengage it from the locking mechanism. I can pull it through, and then through the pulley, right? And then I can put that rope off to the side, and I can do the same thing on the other side, right? Pull it through, and pull it through. Okay, then it's the rear posts. Rear posts are what we already saw, right? I pull the pin out, lift the post up. Pull the pin out, lift the post up. Okay, now we'll move over to the front and we'll get the springs ready. Okay, so the first thing we'll do, we take off any springs that are here. We let the carriage move back out of the way. We pull out our carriage stoppers and put them aside. Then we need to lock all of the springs, right? So I just push them down into their spot and they'll click in. You'll feel them click. Okay, so I've got all of my springs are now locked. I can then move the carriage all the way forward and you'll see the springs actually go underneath the bar where you hook them, right? So I move that all the way forward till it's docked. And then I move my foot bar to the full rearward position, right? So all the way down, lock it. This has locked this carriage into place now. Now to actually fold up the carriage, all I need to do is go back to that crossbar that we used to unfold the reformer. I grab that and I just pull up. And you'll see the reformer will start to fold. I just pull that all the way up. And then usually I like to kind of use my foot again to slow it down so that it doesn't slam together as I fold it up. Once it's folded, you can go ahead and you can roll it around and you can, put it wherever you want, usually up against a wall or in a corner. You can just roll it over like that. So that's all there is to it. As you can see, this is actually a very simple process to get this reformer folded and unfolded. There's not a lot to it. Once you get used to it, 3 or 4 minutes is really all it takes to complete these processes.